Inside the lobe, what you will find? You will find many finger-like structures. These are called follicles. Thyroid follicles, like this, filled with follicles. Okay, packed with follicles. And in the wall of the follicle, you have the cells. These are called the follicular cells. Makes sense? Follicles have follicular cells in their wall. So these are the follicular cells, and in between the follicles, in these spaces, you have another type of cells. These are called parafollicular cells. So two types of cells are here. Follicular cells in the wall of the follicle, and parafollicular cells in between the follicles. Parafollicular cells. Okay. Follicular cells produce two hormones, two very important hormones, T3 or triiodothyronine and T4 tetraiodothyronine. 3 is tri, you know that, triiodothyronine, and T4 tetraiodothyronine. T4 is also called thyroxine, tetraiodo or thyroxine. So shortcut T3 and T4 secreted by the follicular cells. Parafollicular cells secrete another hormone that is called calcitonin. Calcitonin. So those are the three hormones of the thyroid gland: T3 or triiodo, T4 or tetraiodo, and calcitonin. Now, T3 and T4, you already know two important functions of the thyroid gland. Anybody remember? If you don't, no problem. Anybody remember? I mentioned two important functions of thyroid. Metabolism. Metabolic activity, right? Metabolism, remember that? And another I said, lowering the calcium, right? Remember that? So, T3 and T4 causes the metabolism, and calcitonin lowers the calcium. Lowers calcium. So you now know those three hormones and their functions, right? T3, T4, metabolism, calcitonin, lowering the calcium. Okay. Now, T3 is also called tetraiodothyronine, right? Sorry, T3 is also called triiodo. Tri means 3, right? Triiodothyronine. That means what? If I ask you, very simple, just think and tell me. Triiodothyronine or T3. So how many iodine atoms are there? 3. Make sense? Triiodo, it is telling you. And T4 has how many iodine atoms? T4 tetraiodothyronine, that means 4, right? So to make T3, how many iodine atoms you need? 3, right? To make T4, how many iodine atoms you need? 4. Is it clear? Iodine binds with an amino acid. So when you eat iodine, take iodine, iodine enters into the body, goes to the thyroid gland, and iodine atom binds with an amino acid that is called tyrosine. Tyrosine is an amino acid. Okay? This is iodine. And when 3 iodine atoms bind with tyrosine, we get T3 or triiodothyronine. When 4 iodine atoms bind with tyrosine, we get T4 or thyroxine. Very simple. So that's how the iodine works to produce T3 and T4, binds with tyrosine, amino acid tyrosine. Now, where that amino acid tyrosine is present in the thyroid gland, inside these follicles. We talked about the wall of the follicles, but we didn't talk inside the follicles. Inside the follicles, you have that tyrosine, amino acid tyrosine. Okay, it is a protein, right? Amino acids make what? Proteins. We know that. So, and the follicles are filled with the protein that is called thyroglobulin. Thyroglobulin is the protein, name of the protein, and that protein has tyrosine. Okay, amino acid tyrosine. So that's how we get tyrosine, and iodine goes from outside. We take iodine with iodinized salt or many fruits or veg. We have the iodine, right? So we need to take iodine, enough iodine to produce enough T3 and T4. Make sense? Deficiency of iodine will cause hypothyroidism. Makes sense? If your body doesn't get enough iodine, right, then enough thyroid hormone will not be produced. And that is called what? Hypothyroidism. Have you heard that? So if thyroid gland cannot produce enough thyroid hormone, that is hypothyroidism. If thyroid gland works more, produce more thyroid hormone, then it is called what? Hyperthyroidism. So we have, we know two conditions, hypothyroidism and hyperthyroidism. Now you tell me, simple question. If someone gets hyperthyroidism, that means T3 and T4 are being produced more, right? Hyper. Thyroid gland is producing more T3 and T4. So metabolism will increase or decrease? Increase. So that's what we see in hyperthyroidism. Increased metabolic activities of the body. Is it clear? Increased metabolism in the body. So the person is in resting condition, relaxed sitting condition, but metabolism is high. Make sense? Metabolism is high. So what kind of signs and symptoms you will see if you are sitting in resting condition but inside the body metabolism is high? Tell me, when metabolism increases, when you do exercise, right? Metabolism increases. What kind of changes you see in the heart? Increased heart rate, increased blood pressure, right? Make sense? Muscle tone increases. So those signs will be seen in resting condition in hyperthyroidism patient. Make sense? Because metabolic activities is high. Activity is high. Is it clear? So increased heart rate, although the person in relaxed sitting condition. Blood pressure is high. Muscle tone is more, right? And how about heat? Increased metabolism increases the production of heat, right? So the person's body will be always warm. Make sense? If you touch, it is warmer than normal. Hypothyroidism will do opposite, right? Less metabolism, less than normal. So heart rate will go down, blood pressure will go down, tension, right? Hypotension or lower blood pressure, decreased heart rate. The body will be warm or cold?
Warm.
No. Hypo. Cold, right? Metabolism is less. So body will be cold. Make sense? So if you touch the skin, you will feel it like, cold skin. So now you know why, right? Now, hyposecretion or hypofunction of thyroid can cause other clinical conditions. Hyposecretion or hypothyroidism can lead to myxedema and goiter. Myxedema is a clinical condition in which we see the person's face is edematic. That means edema or like fluid in the face, puffy face. So that's why it is called myxedema. Goiter is a condition in which the enlargement of thyroid gland occurs. So thyroid gland gets enlarged or big. Why thyroid gland gets bigger in hypothyroidism? Look at this. You already know that we know that when we take iodine, iodine binds with tyrosine to produce T3 and T4. Okay? Now, if someone has lack of iodine in the body, tyrosine will not bind with iodine, right? Tyrosine will not get enough iodine. So, the tyrosine molecules will stay and start to accumulate inside the follicles because they are not being used. So, more and more tyrosine will accumulate inside the follicles. Follicles will get bigger and the thyroid gland will get enlarged because of accumulation of tyrosine. Make sense? Because you are not getting iodine, tyrosine will stay there and will continue to grow. So, that is the reason of goiter. If you go to a less developed country, you will see many kids have goiter, enlarged thyroid gland. Here you don't see many. Did any of you see any goiter? It's rare. I saw many. So if you go to like Africa or some other countries where the, people, especially kids, suffer from lack of iodine, they don't get enough iodine-rich food, right? So thyroid enlargement occurs. So goiter. Now if you give them iodine, it will shrink, it will get small. Hypersecretion, prolonged hypersecretion or hyperthyroidism can lead to Graves' disease, in which we see the fat accumulates in abnormal locations in the body, where fat should not deposit or accumulate. For example, in the back of the eyeball, a lot of fat accumulates. Now you look at me, if this is your eyeball and more fat accumulates in the back of the eyeball, then what will happen? It will push the eyeball outwards. Make sense? So that's what we see in Graves' disease, protruded eye. Okay, protruded eye. So due to accumulation of fat behind the eyeball. All other symptoms of hyperthyroidism are seen here in Graves' disease because it is due to hypersecretion of thyroid. Okay. Calcitonin, we have already talked about that, comes from parafollicular cells and lowers the calcium. Parathyroid glands, how many? 4 to 8, located in the back of the thyroid, attached to the posterior surface of the thyroid. And parathyroid glands produce only one hormone, that is called parathyroid hormone or PTH, parathyroid hormone, also called parathormone. You can use any, PTH, parathyroid hormone or parathormone, same thing. That's the name of that hormone. And I already mentioned parathyroid hormone increases the calcium. So thyroid hormone calcitonin lowers the calcium, parathyroid hormone PTH increases the calcium. And by the action of these two, your blood calcium is controlled. Okay? Now, how parathyroid hormone increases the calcium? Parathyroid hormone works on the osteoclasts. Have you heard osteoclasts? Yes, okay. One type of bone cells, right? One type of bone cells. And osteoclasts do what? They are giant or small? Big, right? And they love to do what? Destroy the matrix. You must remember that. Osteoclasts love to destroy the matrix. Very good. So, in the bones, you have osteoclasts, and that destroy the matrix. We know that. Matrix contains a lot of calcium. You must remember, a lot of calcium is present in the matrix. That's the main chemical. Okay, so just stay here. Parathyroid hormone also works on the kidneys. Kidneys produce urine, we know that. Produce what? Urine. Very good. And parathyroid hormone also helps in vitamin D synthesis. Vitamin D synthesis. And vitamin D helps in absorption of calcium. Okay, so those three. Okay, everybody. So parathyroid hormone works on those three areas. Works on the bones. Which cells of the bones? Osteoclasts. Make sense? And we know osteoclasts love to destroy the matrix, right? And matrix contains a lot of calcium. Bone contains a lot of calcium. We know that matrix. So, parathyroid hormone does what? Increases the osteoclast activity. Increases osteoclast activity. That means will stimulate the osteoclasts. Okay? So osteoclasts will start to destroy the matrix. Make sense? Will start to destroy the matrix, and calcium will come out from the matrix and will enter into the blood. Calcium will enter into the blood. If calcium enters into the blood, then blood calcium will go up. Is it clear? Okay. So that's how, number one, parathyroid hormone increases the blood calcium. Number two, it works on the kidneys and will tell the kidneys don't excrete calcium through the urine. Is it clear? So will not let the calcium get out through the urine. So in your body calcium will be preserved. So that is number two. Will prevent the excretion of calcium through the urine. That is called reabsorption of calcium. Not letting get out is called reabsorption. Just know this term, reabsorption. Reabsorption means retaining the calcium, retaining any chemical in the kidney, not letting it get out. Okay, that is reabsorption. Parathyroid hormone increases vitamin D synthesis. Now, why this is important? Vitamin D works on the intestine and help in the absorption of calcium from the food you have in the intestine. So more vitamin D, more absorption of calcium. That means blood will get more calcium from the food, intestinal food. So all these three will increase the calcium in the blood. Okay, destroying the matrix, not letting the calcium get out through the urine, and producing vitamin D that helps in absorption of calcium from the food you eat. All these three actions are to increase the calcium in the blood. Okay, so that's how parathyroid hormone increases the blood calcium. Now, calcitonin, just know that, let's go back here again, osteoclasts in the bone, right? The bone tissue, you have osteoclast. Now, calcitonin lowers the calcium, we know that. Calcitonin lowers the calcium. How? Just works on these two organs opposite way. So inhibits the osteoclast activity, so inhibits the bone matrix distraction, so calcium will not be released into the blood. So that is what? Just opposite of PTH. And in the kidneys, it will do what? Will let the calcium get out through the urine. Excretion of calcium through the urine. So blood calcium will go down. It doesn't work on vitamin D. Okay? So calcitonin just works on these two, on the bones, on the kidneys, and do opposite action of PTH or parathyroid hormone. Okay? Okay. So if I now, briefly summarize, let's see that calcitonin, parathyroid hormone. Calcitonin lowers calcium, blood calcium. Parathyroid hormone increases blood calcium. Calcium, right? Number one. Calcitonin comes from which gland? Everybody. Everybody. Thyroid, right? It is a thyroid hormone. Parathyroid hormone comes from which gland? Parathyroid gland. Okay. Calcitonin increases osteoclast activity, right? Increases osteoblast activity. Parathyroid hormone inhibits osteoclasts. Inhibits osteoclasts. Okay. Sorry, I did opposite, right? Calcitonin lowers, so inhibits the osteoclast, and parathyroid stimulates osteoclast. Inhibition is calcium, stimulation is parathyroid, because parathyroid increases, right? Calcitonin increases excretion of calcium through urine. So works on the kidneys and let the calcium get out with the urine. Parathyroid hormone preserves, that is called reabsorption. Reabsorbs calcium in the kidneys. So these are the differences between the action of calcitonin and parathyroid. Make sense? If you just put side by side, just make it easy for you to see. Okay. So you see, this is the back of the thyroid. These are lateral lobes of thyroid. So you are looking from the back. So these are the parathyroid glands. Okay. Here, what I explained you, parathyroid hormone works on the bones, kidneys, and intestine. the parathyroid glands activity increases, that is called hyperparathyroidism. It's like hyperthyroidism, hyperparathyroidism, right? We use the same terms. So hyperparathyroidism is increased parathyroid activity. That means increased production of parathyroid hormone that will elevate the calcium in the blood. Now remember, this is very important. Calcium is very important mineral in your body. And calcium concentration must stay between 9 and 11 milligram per 100 milliliter of blood or 1 deciliter of blood, same thing. Okay, this is the normal concentration of calcium, 9 to 11 milligram per 1 deciliter or 100 milliliter of blood. And this must be maintained in that narrow range. If it goes below 9, that is dangerous. If it goes above 9, that is also dangerous. Okay? So, now you tell me, hyperparathyroidism. Your parathyroid gland is producing more parathyroid hormone. So, what will happen? The calcium in the blood will go up, right? Make sense? Blood, calcium will go up. And that can cause problem. Increased calcium in the blood can depress your nervous system. The most important system, right, of the body, nervous system, control system. So, if nervous system is depressed, all body functions will be depressed. Make sense? Because it is the main control system of the body. So, that is not good. Hyperparathyroidism, if the calcium goes up, that will cause depression of the nervous system and kidney urine formation. Calcium will accumulate inside the kidney and will cause stone formation. Hypoparathyroidism will decrease the calcium in the blood, and that is dangerous. That can cause paralysis of the muscles, particularly if respiratory muscle paralysis occurs. Where is the respiratory muscles? You know, diaphragm and these muscles, right? Intercostal muscles, these are respiratory muscles. So, if those muscles are paralyzed, the person will not be able to breathe. Make sense? So, the person may die. That can cause death. Hypoparathyroidism or lower calcium in the blood. Tetany, convulsion or seizure can occur. So, tetany or convulsion can occur, and that is also dangerous and can block the heart. Okay, so that's why parathyroid is very important. Although tiny glands, small glands, but they are very important because parathyroid glands regulate the calcium. Adrenal gland is also called what? Suprarenal gland, because rests on the kidneys, like the crown of the kidney. Okay, so, and I told you that it has outer part which is called what? Cortex, and inner part is called the medulla. So outer cortex, inner medulla. Make sense? Now you tell me, I mentioned it. Adrenal gland is considered how many glands in one gland? 4. Very good. So, in the cortex part, you have 3 layers, and they are considered as 3 separate glands. So, let's see the cortex first. 3 layers in the cortex. Okay, so 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So, that is the cortex. And 3 layers produce 3 different types of hormones. That's why they are they can be considered as three separate glands. They produce totally different types of hormones. And the medulla produces another type of hormones. That's why 4. 3 in the cortex, 1 in medulla. Okay. Now, what are those layers? Zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, and zona reticularis. Okay. So outermost zona glomerulosa, middle one is zona fasciculata, and innermost one is zona reticularis. These are 3 layers: zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, zona reticularis. And 3 layers produce 3 different types of hormones. Outermost zona glomerulosa produces mineralocorticoids. Mineralocorticoids. The hormones are called mineralocorticoids. Zona fasciculata produces glucocorticoids, another type of hormones. And zona reticulata, innermost one, produces the hormones called sex hormones. Okay? Sex hormones. So you see that 3 layers of the cortex, adrenal cortex, work as 3 different glands that produce 3 different types of hormones. Now, mineralocorticoids regulate what? Its name is telling you. Minerals in the blood. Makes sense? That's why they are called mineralocorticoids. Most important mineralocorticoid, let me just write its name. Most important mineralocorticoid is called aldosterone. Okay, aldosterone increases blood pressure. Okay, by increasing, why it is called mineralocorticoids regulate the minerals by increasing sodium in the body. So that is the aldosterone, the most important mineralocorticoid. Glucocorticoids. Glucocorticoids include like cortisol, the most important one. Have you heard cortisol? Have you heard hydrocortisone? Hydrocortisone is pretty commonly heard, right? Where did you see hydrocortisone? Name. Anybody? 1%, 2% hydrocortisone. Do you remember? It is sold as hydrocortisone too. If you go to Walmart or Walgreens, ointment, right? Hydrocortisone. Have you seen that? Okay. So cortisol, hydrocortisol, these are actually hydrocortisone. Synthetic name is hydrocortisone. Okay. So now you tell me, what is the function? Is that right? Strong anti-inflammation, right? You know, only 1% can heal. If you get, conjunctivitis or, inflammation, right, in the skin, you use hydrocortisone, right? Quickly, heals the inflammation. Have you seen that? Used that. I think everybody used that. So, only 1% or 2% has a strong action. So, you know how strong, right, anti-inflammatory action these glucocorticoids have. When this was first discovered, the scientists, they found its action on glucose in the body, but later we found that it has strong anti-inflammatory action. That's why they named it glucocorticoid. Zona reticularis, sex hormone. So sex hormones are not only produced by gonads or testes or ovaries. Sex hormone, a small amount, is produced by the adrenal gland too. So those are three layers of the cortex. Now let's see the medulla. Medulla part is formed by sympathetic neurons. You already know sympathetic. So many sympathetic neurons are here in the medulla, and these neurons, you already know, sympathetic activation secretes what? The chemical in the body. Anybody? Adrenaline. Remember that? We talked about that, right? Adrenaline causes excitement, right? Fight or flight response. So the medulla consists of sympathetic type neurons, and the medulla secretes adrenaline and noradrenaline. Similar action, although the name is different. Adrenaline and noradrenaline both have similar action. Increases heart rate, right? Excitement, increases blood pressure, is a muscle tone, right? So those are the actions of the medullary hormones, adrenaline, noradrenaline. Now, for your information, adrenaline is also called epinephrine. Epinephrine. Noradrenaline is also called norepinephrine. Okay? So, epinephrine and non-epinephrine, or adrenaline and noradrenaline. Here you see those three layers in the cortex: zona glomerulosa, zona fasciculata, zona reticularis. Mineralocorticoids, glucocorticoids, sex hormones. And this is the medulla, okay, that produces adrenaline, noradrenaline. Okay. Adrenaline is also called epinephrine. Noradrenaline is also called norepinephrine. Okay. Now we will see a couple of clinical conditions related to hypersecretion of adrenal cortex and hyposecretion of adrenal cortex. Hypersecretion of glucocorticoids can cause a clinical condition that is called Cushing's syndrome, and hyposecretion can cause Addison's disease. If you see Cushing's syndrome, three signs are very common. So you need to know those three signs of Cushing syndrome. One is moon face, round face. Fat accumulates in the face and face becomes round. Another is called buffalo hump. You know that, right? What is buffalo hump? You know, in the back of, right, buffalo, you have that hump. So a lot of fat accumulates in the back of the shoulder and the neck, upper part of the shoulder and neck here. Okay, so that is another sign. And acne, pigmentation in the skin. Make sense? So those three are common signs of Cushing syndrome due to hypersecretion of glucocorticoids. Now, prolonged hyposecretion or less secretion of glucocorticoids can lead to Addison's disease. And what are the signs of Addison's disease? Hypotension. That hypotension is called orthostatic hypotension. That means when the person, it is also called postural hypotension. Have you heard that term? Orthostatic or postural hypotension. That means when you change your body position, posture of the body. Okay, if you are lying, okay, if you sit down or stand, suddenly blood pressure drops. Okay, that is postural or orthostatic hypotension. Abdominal cramp. And pain. Abdominal pain. Weight loss. Significant weight loss. Okay. Person will be skinny. The legs and arms will be very thin. Okay. Tiredness or fatigue. Okay, tiredness or fatigue. So we see those are the common symptoms of Addison's disease. Another is silver pigmentation of the skin. Often we see silver pigmentation in the skin. So here you see a Cushing syndrome patient. This is before and this is after. So you see a lot of fat has accumulated in the back of the neck and shoulder, buffalo hump, face become more round, so moon face, so you see those signs. Gonads. Male gonads are testes, female gonads are ovaries, and production of sex hormones, right? Gonads have other function, very important. What is that? That's a totally different function. That's the very important function. Gonads produce what? Testes produce what? Sperm, right? And ovaries produce what? Egg or ovum, right? Very important, right? Otherwise, no reproduction will occur. So you know that. But that is not endocrine function, right? That is not hormone. We are talking about endocrine, right? So you need to know which hormones are produced by the gonads. Testes produce testosterone, male sex hormone, right? And ovaries produce female sex hormones, what? Estrogen and progesterone, okay? And sex hormones do a lot of things. First, let me just mention a couple of those. Sex hormones help in the growth and maturation of reproductive system. Number 2, secondary sex characteristics. Sex characteristics that separates a male from a female. What are the male secondary sex characteristics? Adam's apple, right? Laryngeal prominence, deep voice, loud, right? What else? Hair, body hair, right? Facial hair. Anything else? Broader shoulder, more masculine body, right? More skeletal muscle. Prominence, baldness. So those are male secondary sex characteristics given by testosterone, right? And female secondary sex characteristics are given by estrogen, progesterone. What are those? deep voice, sorry, not deep, opposite, right? High pitch. You can listen from very far. High pitch voice. Distribution of fat under the skin, subcutaneous fat, right, is more in female. Broader hip, female breast, right, mammary glands. So those are female secondary sex characteristics, okay, given by estrogen, progesterone. How you know that those hormones are responsible for that? If a girl starts to take testosterone every day, right, you will gradually see those changes, right, in the body. That means we know that those hormones are responsible for secondary sex characteristics. And number 3, sexual behavior, like sex drive, desire, right, attraction, all those belong to sexual behavior given by the hormones.